All right. Well, we all want to be better. Whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, you're a Christian or not, we all want to be better. Now, your version of better might be different than someone else's version of better. For some people, their idea of better is someone like Bill Gates. It's a CEO. It's my idea of better is climbing the corporate ladder. It's being better at work. It's starting my own company. Maybe that's my idea of better. My idea of better is this CEO figure. Maybe some of your idea of better is Hillary Clinton or whoever's one of the 15 Republican candidates. That is some political leader. And your idea of better is being a leader. I want to be a leader. I think I could make a difference in my community. I think I can make a difference in my state, and maybe even my country. I want to be a leader. That's your idea of better, being better. Maybe for some of you, your idea of being better is a parent that you had. I mean, my mom was just so kind and so loving, and being better would be to be more like her. My dad was so strong but so gentle, and being better would be to be him. And my example of better, my version of better is to do that. All of us, whether you're Christian or not, you want to be better. We want to self-improve. And we usually pick someone, a model, for what better looks like. Unfortunately, we get distracted. Does anybody get distracted? Surely not. Nobody has distractions. Facebook doesn't exist. There's no such thing as that. Distractions, they come in all kinds, shapes, and sizes. All different. Oh, I'm sorry. Just a second. Okay, wait. Where were we? What were we talking about? No, yeah. We all get distracted. We all have distractions. We all get off track. I want to be better, but I get distracted by something. I wanted to be better, and my version of better was this Bill Gates figure, was the CEO. I wanted to be the head of this company. But I got distracted, fell in love with some silly boy, got married, have kids now, and I had a family, and I love them, but I wasn't able to really do what I wanted to do. My version of better was to be this parent. My dad was just so honest, and truthful, and moral and good, and just this. I wanted to be like him, but I got a job where I have to be cruel. I got a job where I have to lie to customers to get them to buy things. I got a job that forces me to put numbers before people, and I want to be better. I want to be like my dad. That's my model. I want to be that, but I got distracted by this job I have, and I'm on my quest to be better. This thing keeps tripping me up. I don't feel like I'm really getting anywhere because I've got this job. We want to be better, Christians and non-Christians, but we get distracted. Christians want to be better too, but our version of better, our model is Jesus. That's the person we choose. When we want to be better, we talk about we want to be better, and Jesus is the one that we model that off of. And he's a pretty good guy, pretty good person to pick as a model. Christians and non-Christians agree on that. In fact, non-Christians probably a lot of times say which Christians would be more like Jesus. Everyone agrees Jesus is a good guy. There's a missionary. He was a missionary to the Middle East, to Muslims actually, and he wrote a book called Speaking of Jesus, and the thesis of that book, the main point of that book was everybody likes talking about Jesus. Some people don't like talking about church. Some people don't like talking about Christians. Some people don't like talking about religion. But everybody likes talking about Jesus. Everybody likes Jesus. So Jesus is a good guy to pick. As Christians, we want to be more like Jesus. But unfortunately, just like everyone else, we get distracted. I want to be more like Jesus. I want to be better. That's my model. But I get distracted. I get off on all these tangents. These other things trip me up. They keep me from becoming like Jesus. But the thing is, as Christians, we have this really, really great tool that helps us recenter ourselves on Jesus. If you're a non-Christian, you've got this model, and I want to be better, and I'm going to be like this person, really it's your willpower against the world's willpower. Really, it's really all on your shoulders. If you can do it, great. If not, you're going to get distracted. You're going to fall off course. You're not going to be able to obtain that. As Christians, we want to be more like Jesus. We want to be better. We want to be more like him. And we have this really, really great tool that helps us recenter ourselves, that helps us refocus ourselves on Jesus. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 today, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And in there, Paul's talking about this incredible thing that we can do as Christians that helps us recenter on Jesus, and that thing is the Lord's Supper. That thing is communion. This is the thing that Paul says can help you refocus your worldview. See, here's the deal. Jesus was a pretty great guy. Everyone seemed to like him. He got invited to lots of parties. Lots of people who were, quote unquote, sinners, outsiders, people you don't want to associate with. They're the ones who invite him to Jesus. Jesus must have been a pretty nice guy for that to happen. You don't invite someone to your party if the whole time they're going to be going, Bill, you're a sinner. You know that, right? You don't invite someone to a party if they're going to go, Margie, you're probably going to hell. You don't do that. So he got invited to things all the time. He must have been a pretty good guy for that to happen. Kids loved him. Kids wanted to be around him. It was the stuffy old disciples who were saying, no, kids, don't go to Jesus. And Jesus, what did he say? He said, no, let the children come to me. They want to come to me. Let them come over here. Kids like being around him. He had 12 incredibly close friends. Some of us have only got one incredibly close friends or none incredibly close friends. Jesus had 12. Pretty great guy. Met some very influential people. Taught some really great things. Did a lot. Pretty successful life overall. What was his secret sauce? What made Jesus just so incredible that everyone wanted to be around him? That anywhere he went, he attracted great crowds. What was his secret sauce? What did he do? It was his love. It was his sacrificial love. You see, no other rabbi loves like that. No other teacher of the law, no other influential person. No one loves like that. No one loves those people. You don't do that. No one loves like that. And he loved so much that he would sacrifice for others. Sacrifice his time, his energy. He would sacrifice his image. Jesus went to whose house? Jesus went into whose house and had dinner? His love is what separated him, is what attracted him. It's what the thing that everyone said, man, this Jesus guy, you got to go meet him. It's because of his incredible, incredible love. And we want to be like that. When we want to model Jesus, we want to be better like Jesus was. His love is what we're talking about. That love that says, I'm willing to give up my things, my stuff, my life for you. See, Jesus' life and death aren't that disconnected. Sometimes we think Jesus' whole purpose was to come and die on the cross. If that's the case, let's be honest, why didn't he come as a 32-year-old guy, right? Like, why didn't he come as an adult? He could have came the night before, died on the cross, rose from the dead. He would have been here just a few days, not even a week, and he'll be gone. In and out, don't have to worry about anything else. Why come as a baby? It's because Jesus' life and death aren't unconnected. That his death, where he died for people he didn't know, he died for strangers, he died for his enemies. He died for the guy who put the nail in his hand. That kind of sacrificial love is the same kind of love they had during his life. That same kind of, I will do for you. I am the master. I'm going to wash your feet. Well, what are you doing, Jesus? That's what slaves do. I know. I'm setting you an example. This is the kind of love you have to have. He loved others in this extreme way, and that's what we want to model. Whatever's at the center of your life is what influences all your other decisions. You got this thing at the center, and everything you do kind of branches off of that. And you see, as Christians, we want to put Jesus there, but there are distractions. There are things that want to shove Jesus out of the center of your life and make Jesus a part of your life and not the center of your life. You see, when Jesus becomes a part of your life, I can do things for him, I can talk about him, but honestly, it doesn't influence my other decisions. He's over here, and he's got his niche. He's part of the pie chart that is Cody Graves. And he takes up this 15%, this 30%. It could even be 40%. But he just takes up a section of my life. He's not the thing on which everything else revolves around. So we want to put Jesus at the center of our life, but things distract us, things like our career. And our career can come in and push Jesus out of the center of our life and make Jesus a part of our life. I can go to church, I can read my Bible, I can do churchy things, go to activities, and yet I'm going to put numbers over people. I'm going to lie to people so I can make more money. I'm going to do things that are shrewd and immoral so I can climb up the ladder. Things Jesus wouldn't do. Jesus isn't the center of my life anymore. None of these things are things that Jesus would ever do, but I'm going to do them. He's a part of my life. He's a section of my life, but he's not the center of my life. My career is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing those things. We got all kinds of distractions, things like sports, that want to push Jesus out of the center of your life and make Jesus a part of your life. I just don't have time to go to church very often. I'm always on the road. I'm always going to these games. This game's on TV. I have to watch this. I don't really focus when I'm there because I can't wait to get home and find out what's happening. And Jesus becomes a part of your life. Yeah, I go to church once in a while. Yeah, sure, I'll do this once in a while when I can. But he's not the center of your life. Something else has become. All kinds of distractions. Our image, our finances, our friends even, our commitments. I'm sorry, Cody, I'm busy Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. I think I need a night off, right? I can't be there on Wednesday night. Well, that's true. You do need a night off. You should probably not be so busy so you can take one of your other nights off. That's become the center of your life. Jesus is just a part of my life. He's a part of my life, but he's not the center of my life. We want to model Jesus, and to do that, he's got to be at the middle of our lives. So what do we do? What do we do about this? That's where we get to our text in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Paul's got a pretty good solution to this. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, how do we get Jesus back to the middle of our lives? And he says this, "For I pass on to you what I received from the Lord himself. On the night when he was betrayed, the Lord Jesus took some bread and gave thanks to God for it. Then he broke it in pieces and said, 'This is my body, which is given for you. Do this to remember me.' In the same way, he took the cup of wine after supper, saying, 'This cup is the cup of the new covenant between God and his people, an agreement confirmed with my blood. Do this to remember me as often as you drink it. For every time you eat this bread and you drink this cup, you are announcing the Lord's death until he comes again.'" So what do? How do we get back on track? The Lord's Supper is a time to remember. It's a thing that it's repeated over and over again in that passage, to remember Jesus. Now, I don't really like the word remember. It's funny how I'm making that the center point and I'm saying I don't like it. The word remember there in English, it's just too weak. You see, in Greek, the idea was to even reenact at times, to redo, to make yourself do something that was done before. In the Old Testament, the word remember, it didn't mean to recall. It didn't mean like, oh, I've forgotten, and I forgot about that. I forgot to take out the trash, but now I remember. No, in the Old Testament, the word remember meant to do something. When God heard the cries of the slaves in Egypt, it says he remembered. And it doesn't mean that God forgot. It wasn't like God was like, oh, that's what I forgot about the Israelites. I'm up here messing with my garden, and I just forgot about the Israelites, and look at them. Now they're slaves. I forgot. No, that wasn't what happened. God didn't forget about them and then remember. He remembered, and then he acted. Remembering was so much more than just recalling facts. See, the Lord's Supper is about more than just remembering Jesus. It's about recentering on him. It's about recentering on him. It's about making him the foundation of your life. It's about bringing him back into the middle, into the center where all your other decisions are influenced by Jesus. The Lord's Supper is about more than just remembering. It's about recentering on him. You see, remembering doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything in my life. I can remember the events of World War II. It doesn't really change anything. I can remember who George Washington is. I can tell you his birth date. I can give you major battle events. I can tell you his biography and what all he did, how long he was president. Doesn't really change anything. The Lord's Supper is about more than remembering because it's supposed to change us. It's supposed to make Jesus the center of our life again. And too often, I'm afraid, we come to communion and all we do is we recall Jesus. We recall the events of his life. Oh yeah, Jesus went here. He did these things. Yeah, here's the bread. Here's the cup. Or maybe we put a picture of Jesus in our head, probably a very white, Western, German picture of Jesus, but we put a picture of Jesus in our head, and we take the bread, we take the cup, and that's all we do. We recall. But communion is about so much more than just recalling. It's about so much more than just saying, oh yeah, he went here, he did this. It's about putting Jesus back at the center of your life. It's about reforming your world view. Communion is supposed to be a recentering action. And the reason it's so good at that, it's such a good device to recenter yourself on Jesus, is because communion is all about the thing that we want to model in the first place, his love. When we take the bread and we take the cup, we're remembering the fact that Jesus died for people he didn't know. Jesus died for his enemies. That's incredible love. That's like unhealthy love. That's like unbelievable love, and that's the kind of love that we want to model as Christians. That's the kind of love that we're all about. And the reason communion makes such a good time to recenter on Jesus is because it's all about the most dynamic and the most important facet of his life, his incredible, insane, unworldly love, the love that we want to try to have, the love that we want to try to emulate. Communion makes this wonderful time to recenter because it's all about the thing that we're about anyway. Putting Jesus at the center of our life means putting his death at the cross at the center of our lives. It means everything we do is affected by that kind of love. Can I hurt someone if they hurt me? I mean, let's think about this. Did Jesus hurt the person who put the nail in his hand? Or did he die for him? Can I cheat someone if they're silly enough to fall for it? I mean, there's so many just completely clueless people out there, and it's kind of their fault for being that way. And is it okay if I kind of take advantage of them? I mean, did Jesus ever say, "Hey, I'll heal you for a price"? No. This kind of love is supposed to be at the center of who we are and affect everything we do. I can't hurt you just because you hurt me. That's not at all what Jesus did. He went through a lot more pain than you've caused me. And yet, man, I'm so ready to do something back to you. This is the crazy kind of love that we want to have. The Lord's Supper is about more than remembering Jesus. It's about recentering on him. It's about putting him back at the middle of my life and making everything else about Jesus Christ. But here's the thing. There's some obstacles to recentering. There's some things that will keep this from being effective. Paul goes on in this passage, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 27 through 30. He goes on and says this, "So anyone who eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord unworthily is guilty of sinning against the body and blood of the Lord. That is why you should examine yourself before eating the bread and drinking the cup. For if you eat the bread or drink the cup without honoring the body of Christ, you are eating and drinking God's judgment upon yourself. That is why many of you are weak and sick, and some have even died." There's some obstacles, there's some things here that prevent this from actually working. This is this wonderful and incredible tool to recenter your life on Jesus. And yet if we come here and we do it in an improper way, it just doesn't work. I eat the bread, I drink the cup, and yet nothing really seems to be that big a deal. Other people make a big deal about communion. I don't get it, because there are a lot of things that can keep this from being effective, that can distract you even during communion. You see, the idea is the world distracts us. We come in from working in the world, from our jobs, from our families, from our friends, from the television ads, from our culture, the billboards we drive by. Everything in the world directs you to their point of view, which is this: you'll be happier if you look after yourself. You'll be happier over here. Come over here. The grass is greener over here. You know what? Look after yourself first. It's okay to give, but not that much. It's okay to do something for others once in a while. No, take care of yourself, your interests, your right. Look after you. Me. Some of you come into church having done battle with the world during the week, and you're beat up. And you are teetering on the brink. And communion is the time that we remember that we serve a sacrificial king, not a self-centered king. Our king didn't say, me. Our king, we're the servants. Our king said, I'm going to do for you. That's what communion's about. But we can get so distracted. We can get so off course, even when we come to take communion. You see, you're supposed to examine yourself before you take communion, because there are things that will prevent it from being effective in your life. The Lord's Supper, it recharges, it refocuses you. But if you do it wrong, it's like trying to put AAA batteries into a AA slot. It's interesting that Bert used battery illustration. That was completely uncoordinated. But it's like trying to put the wrong size batteries in a slot. It just doesn't work. You put them in there and they rattle around and nothing. The remote's still not working. It's also interesting I chose a remote, but the remote's still not working. TV still won't come on. What's the deal? Well, I'm just not doing it right. These batteries don't work for this. When you come to communion and you take the bread and you take the cup, there's this recharging, there's this refocusing, this recentering that happens. But I don't feel it. I don't get it. What's going on? Well, you're putting batteries in the wrong slots. You're doing it improperly. It just doesn't work that way. See, we can't recenter on Jesus if we're angry with someone else at church. It won't work. You'll take the bread, you'll take the cup, and the whole time you'll be thinking, man, I wish they weren't here. I wish they would just go somewhere else. I just wish, you know what, my church-going experience would be so much better if they would just attend somewhere else. You have a grudge against someone else, you make sure you sit on the other side of the room. You just, no, I just can't be. No, you don't know what they did, though. You don't know. No, they deserve it. They should not be here. They mistreated me. And we can't, this is not effective. This doesn't work if we're angry with our brother or sister. You can't recenter on Jesus. This will not work if you're hurting your family because of your job, if you put numbers over people. That mindset, this does not work when you're doing that. This does not work when you're thinking about how much you can make, when you're thinking about how much profit you can earn. This is about people. This is about love. It just doesn't work that way. This will not work if you're hiding secret sin. I'm a sinner, you're a sinner. That's why we need this. We come to this table because we've done battle with the world. We've been beat up by it. We've made mistakes. That's why we need this. But some of you have sin in your life that you're not ready to let go of. Oh, I know it's wrong. I know this is sinful, but I'm not ready yet to let go of this. I'm going to hide it so no one sees, but anytime someone's not looking, I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to pet it, and I'm going to hold it. And I'm going to have this sin with me in my life. This will not work when you hide secret sin in your life. I'm not ready to give this over to God. I'm not ready, and this is mine still. We need this because we're sinners, but when we have that, it just doesn't. You take the bread, you take the cup, and I don't know why everyone makes such a big deal about communion. There are obstacles to taking communion. And I don't want to elaborate on this, but I certainly don't want to say something the Bible doesn't say, because Paul follows up telling us to examine ourselves before we go to communion. He follows it up by saying, some of you have done this improperly, and that's why some of you are sick, and some of you have died. I mean, I've never seen that happen, but it's in the Bible, so if someone falls over during communion, it might not be sleep, it might be something else. Like I said, I don't want to elaborate on that, but Paul seems to say this is pretty important. This is pretty important. It's powerful. It's so powerful. And that's the reason why Satan wants to derail it, wants to get it off track, doesn't want it to work. The Lord's Supper is our time to recenter. It's our time to take our eyes off the world. It's our time to examine our worldview. Does my worldview line up with this? Am I looking out for others? Jesus' love, his death on the cross, his ability to die for his enemies. Am I living like that? When I went through my time this week, was that my worldview? Was that my outlook on life? This is a wonderful time to self-examine, to recenter. This is what I'm about. I'm about a king. I'm about a God who died for sinners. So I'm going to do something similar. But it only works if we let it. Everybody wants to be better, Christians and non-Christians. As Christians, we look to Jesus to be better. That's our model. That's our version of better. We want to be more like that. The world says, though, it's all about me. Me. What can I do for me? And you know what's incredible is that we come to a table here where Jesus, even during the supper, did something that was so opposite of me. The night he was betrayed, he served his betrayer. I mean, that's so opposite of me. And he knew it too. The world's all about me. If you knew someone was going to betray you, you don't serve them. You don't do for them. But the night Jesus was betrayed, that very night, before the cross, before any of that had happened, he knows what Judas is going to do, and he hands Judas some bread, and he says, Judas, this is my body, which has been broken for you. And he hands Judas a cup, and he says, Judas, this is a cup, which is my blood, which has been poured out for you. That's love. That's crazy. Ends up being a little unhealthy. But that's Jesus' love. That's what this meal's about. The world says me. This says you. In the middle of a world that seems so full of violence and greed and self-centeredness, our communion is our oasis. It is our point where we can come and drink pure water, unpolluted water. It is a place where we can come and we can recenter ourselves on Jesus, and then we can take the oasis out to others. People who are struggling so hard to get ahead, people who are struggling so hard to look out for themselves, and it's hurting themselves and it's hurting their families, and they don't know why, and we can say, hey, I know a place where there's peace. I know a place where there's rest, and that's with Jesus. This is our time to go to the oasis in the middle of the desert, recharge, recenter, and take the Oasis out. Take the example out to others. So here's the deal. We're going to have a time of communion now. After everything we talked about, that's kind of why we rearrange things so that we can have a time of communion here in a second. We're going to take this bread and we're going to take this cup. It's going to be about the Lord's death. It's going to be about his love for us so that we can then go in turn and love others. Before we do that, we're going to pray real quick here. And then after that, we're going to sing a song together. And then we're going to take communion. Would you join me in prayer? God, we love you. We are so thankful for what your son did. We are so thankful for his death on the cross. I didn't deserve that. We didn't deserve that. No one deserved that. No one was good enough for the Son of God to die for them. And yet you did it anyway. It was out of pure, uncompromised love that you gave up your life, that you left heaven for us. God, we are so thankful for that. Let that be an example to us. Let that be a recharger, a refocuser. Let the incredibly cheesy saying of what would Jesus do, let that be our motto. What did Jesus do? What can we do that looks a lot like him? We serve a king who served us. We don't serve a king that said, me, me, me. If that's what the king did, surely we can do similar. We love you, God. We're thankful and we ask for your spirit and your energy as we love the world like you loved us. It's in your son's name that we pray. Amen.